welcome to the Soft Cock Week podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Renee. As a surrogate partner and intimacy guide, many times clients approach me to fix their dick. This led me to create Soft Cock Week in 2022, an annually celebrated week of education, appreciation, and normalization of the flaccid phallus. I'm so happy you're here. Before we get started, this podcast is not a replacement for medical advice. In fact, when you notice any change in your body, especially in how your penis is functioning, please always seek medical consultation first. Now let's get started. I'm talking today with Lee Jagger, and I think we're going to have a really great conversation. Just a teaser here. We've done a little off-screen talking and getting to know each other, and I've looked at her stuff, and I am really in alignment with her. So I'm excited to start this conversation. We've kind of held back so that it can all be recorded, but I'm very, very excited. So Lee, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you for having me, Michelle. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So I'm Lee Jagger, and I'm the CEO of Rock the Bedroom. And I've helped like thousands of women by this time connect with their guys in the bedroom and like up their intimacy level without having intercourse. My specialty is erotic massage. And it's my mission to normalize conversations around sexuality and help women to be more confident in the bedroom and find their voice and understand men a little bit better.
It sounds like we're on the same mission of like decentering penis sex, right? Penis and vagina sex. Because
Yes.
I am a person, I don't know that I would say that I never need a penis in the room anymore, but let me say that my favorite sex is hand sex. And it sounds like that's exactly what we're going to talk about today in a way. I'm going to give you the space to really break it down your way. It sounds like it's a lot about us as women learning how to give erotic massage.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I teach
Great.
women. I mean,
Yes.
I teach guys, but I don't teach guys erotic massage to do on women. That said, there have been many times when female clients of mine have said, after I gave my guy an erotic massage last night, he turned the tables and said, "Hey, I think I could modify a couple of those things for you. Do you mind if I try?" I'm like, yes.
Perfect. Yes. I do want to honor that is the work that you do, is helping women learn how to do this massage.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I just always have to throw my vote of confidence behind especially for Soft Cock Week, that if you are a penis owner and you don't have regular erections or they're just unreliable, that is not my favorite kind of sex. I don't need your penis.
Right.
I need your closeness, your attentiveness, your attunement, your touch.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you're kind of helping them learn that through their partners being able to give that to them.
Yes, absolutely. And everything you said just now, 100% agree with, and really hope that men hear that, what guys think that we want, maybe not, maybe that's what you want to give. And that's what you think, that represents you performing as a man and providing and all the things that you think we want. But that's really hard for a guy to let it sink in, because the thing that happens for a man when they can't perform through an erection, like they've been conditioned to believe that they need to do all their lives, and they're ashamed if they can't do, these guys, like their ego has taken a punch in the gut when they can't perform in that way. Even when, and like my guy who I demonstrate, like I teach online training, and I have practiced on this guy. I can't even count. I just have completely lost the number of how many times I have practiced. My hands have been on this guy's privates. And even to this day, he's like, "Yeah, I know you say it's okay if I'm soft, but it's still really, really hard for me to not feel like I'm lacking in some way." Mm-hmm. It's so ingrained for men. And I mean, thank goodness you're doing this, because Michelle, you're an ingredient in the unraveling of that mental background chatter for guys. So
Yeah.
thank you for doing this
Well, for
because guys
someone,
really need
yeah,
to hear it's okay.
I love men. I work a lot with men. I won't say I used to say primarily with men, but I've kind of have I do work with women, but it's very different work. It's like almost like couldn't even be on the same website, kind of different work,
Right.
right? So I can't say that I primarily work with men because that's not true. But I work with people that I really care about. And when they have this kind of what I feel is a distorted view, and I know it's not their fault, like you said, it's been ingrained in them since before the beginning of time, right? But when I hear them, like, well, not even hear them, I read their bodies, right? Like, I was in a cuddle session the other day, and it was not a cuddle. I should back this up. It was not a platonic cuddle session. It was some sex coaching stuff, and we were cuddling, right?
Right.
It's something I do in all of my work as a professional cuddler. It doesn't never come into the space because cuddling is delicious and such a great way to connect with another person. So we had done some cuddling, fully clothed. We did a session where we took our clothes off, and all like he went from being able to enjoy the cuddling to all he could think about was why wasn't he hard? And I
Yeah.
could feel it in his body. It was just energy in the room. He didn't even have to say it out loud, but he wasn't present anymore.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as juicy. That connection was just not there.
Yeah.
And I know it's a lot of work. I know it's a lot of work to get over that kind of ruminating thought process, but the ruminating thought process is part of the reason why the erection can't show up, right?
Exactly.
Even if it was an option, it can't show up if we're just thinking about it.
Yes. Yeah, it's we're getting in our own way, and now we're in our brain and in our thoughts, and we're not actually in our body enjoying the sensations. So there's ways to get around that for sure. There's different I mean, like I tell people, yes, I teach erotic massage in hands-on techniques, but really, truth be told, if you pull back the curtain, I'm really teaching communication. There is a hands-on element to it, but really mostly it's communication, because if you can talk in the bedroom, you can talk anywhere in your relationship. And there's like communication woven into, okay, this is what I'm going to do with my hands on your body. Um, but you got to make it a sneaky ninja thing so that people aren't like, okay, now we're going to work on our communication skills. That's just
It's
so
not
unsexy.
sexy enough, right?
Now,
Like I always say, like it's good sex is not a list that you can read in Cosmo of like the 10 tips to blow her mind, right? It is about
right.
being able to talk about what you like and what you'd like more of, what you'd like less of, and empowering your partner, no matter what the genders are involved, to
Yeah,
be able to feel safe enough to speak up and take a risk to ask for the thing that you've really wanted and you're just afraid to talk about.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I mean, I used to see that all the time. I used to have an office where I provided erotic massage to men. And maybe I can get into my backstory and explain
Yeah.
why I'm an expert at what I do. Maybe I should back
Please
up.
go for it.
I
Because
should do that actually.
we're coming both in this space as professionals that are also very much guided by our personal life. And I'm sure you probably a story before the working in erotic massage that even got you to erotic massage. Go back as far as you would
A
like,
little
and
bit.
I will let
Yeah.
you
So
talk about that.
I'll dip my toes just a little bit into, because Michelle, I am the last person on the planet who should be an expert in any of this stuff. Like I could not have predicted that I would be talking about this at any point in my life. So, okay. So a few years back, I remember lying like belly down on my bed, counting out the coins in the bottom of my purse and a few bills, and all the money from my purse added up to $28.23. And that was more than what was in my bank account. And so I was in a tough spot, financially speaking. And as I'm scooping up all of the change from my bedspread, my phone rang. And it was a woman who saw my ad on Craigslist. I'd placed an ad looking for work. And she said, "Hey, do you want to do erotic massage? You can make a ton of cash with doing these happy endings." And like erotic massage, giving happy endings to men I don't know. Um, Here I am with my mouth hanging open, and I'm thinking, like me? let, let me tell you a little something about what my sex life looked like up until this point. So I wasn't exactly what you would call a tigress. Like I I had a pretty low libido, and I was starting menopause, so sex was getting a little uncomfortable, dryness and whatnot. And half the time, my boyfriend could not maintain an erection, so that was getting in the way. And all I knew was, intercourse. I wasn't big on blowjobs or anything, and I had no idea what to do with my hands. When a guy he like pulls your hand towards his penis, silently asking you to tickle his pickle. Like I'd be thinking, oh, oh my God, I hope he gets hard fast so he could just stick it in and, you know, so we could just
Go to
get
what
get
you
on with
know.
it already. Cause I don't know what to do with my hands. And so me doing erotic massage as a job was ridiculous. I was just simply not qualified. And I certainly didn't want to do that kind of work. Cause that was not something I ever wanted to do. But here I am, I'm looking down on my bed at all the change. I needed the money, honestly. And I figured I'd just do it for a couple of weeks just to get ahead. So I took the job. And on my first day, I was determined to be that sexy tigress and pretend to be all confident. So the guys would give me a big tip. And you ever watch the show Seinfeld? And the character Elaine?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And her crazy like dance moves.
Yep.
And she thinks she's so cool, busting out some funky moves, but really she just looks super awkward. And that was me. Except, unlike Elaine, I was not oblivious to my awkwardness. I was feeling it very deeply in my bones. And especially the happy ending part. I was just fumbling around down there. I had really no clue what to do other than, plain old up and down. We all know that. And that's pretty well all we know
Mm-hmm.
typically. And there was no warm up training on a cucumber. No, I was thrown right in, naked man on a massage table. And at one point during the happy ending, the guy pushed my hand away and he finished himself off. And I just stood there with my oily hands, trying not to fidget,
Uh-huh.
silent, and not really sure where to look or where to put my hands. And I hated that feeling. I hated feeling incompetent.
Mm-hmm.
And typically in sexy situations, I was used to the guy just taking the lead and me just going along with whatever he wanted to do. I had no creativity in the bedroom. I didn't know how to rock a guy's world other than opening up my legs and letting him go at it. And what it came down to is I just had no game. I had no power in the bedroom. And I was thinking, like, I could have booked it out of that office with my tail between my legs and never go back. But I thought, Lee, this is time to put your big girl panties on. And dang it, I just want to be great in bed. And I wanted to know how to touch a guy confidently.
Yeah.
And I knew in my bones that this job was my opportunity, my practice ground to step into my power. So instead of running back to my comfort zone, I leaned in. And I did that work for not 2 weeks like I had planned, but for years and years. And I accumulated, get this, over 2,000 clients.
Mm.
And you do anything 2,000 times and you're going to get pretty good at it. You're going
Mm-hmm.
to you're going to work out some kinks. So
Absolutely. It's like even whether it's you're doing it for work or it's just the thing that you really love, right? You get real good at it because you like to practice.
exactly. And so by practicing on all these guys, I discovered over 69 different ways to touch a guy's privates to bring him to his knees. And when a client who couldn't get it up. They had erectile dysfunction of some degree. I figured out exactly how to knock his socks off. I felt like Beyonce strutting onto her stage and owning it. And a surprise side effect was just sexy time with my boyfriend became like it immediately turned around. And all of a sudden I was that wildcat, always in the mood. And the first time I gave my guy an erotic massage, he said, "What you doing for the next 50 years?" Like he was looking at me like I was the best thing since pizza and beer.
Yeah. I have
And
2 comments. Can I give you 2 comments?
yes,
Tell me the 69 number is on purpose, that you have over
it is on
69 moves.
yeah,
Okay,
because
I just wanna say, because we
I
all
know
love that
more.
number.
Yeah, I know more than 69, but someone said, "No, just make it 69." 69 is
Yeah,
still a big number,
I love
and people will
69.
remember it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then my other thing is like sexual confidence, just like being able to make like I always say like I want to make your brain explode,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Like it feels like we're servicing the guy, like we're going to rock his world, but really we are rocking our own world. That's the most important thing. Like that confidence, just going, "Oh, you have no idea the jackpot you just won by being with me." Like having that kind of confidence. Oh my gosh. It's so good. It transformed my relationship. And all my girlfriends around me are like, "What are you doing? What's happening with you?" And sparks are flying with me and my guy. And they're like, "Could you teach us a few things?" Because their marriages or relationships, they're boring. Their sex life is like non-existent. So they're like, "Hey, share some tips." So I did. And some marriages were actually saved because of what I shared with them. And so here's me helping my friends have a happier relationship or getting guys off in my office. I was having way more fun helping my girls. So
You gotta follow your yes, right?
yes.
Like,
So
yeah.
after 2000, well, I lost track after 2000 clients. It's probably closer to 3000. But anyway, I'm just like, okay, I think I could teach this. So I gave up my office and now I just work with women and I teach them everything that I learned.
I think I'm pretty good with my hands, and I'm like, I want to know what I don't know, right?
Yeah.
So
Right?
like, I'm
Because the
like,
more
okay,
you
sign me
figure
up.
out, the more you're like, wow, there's so much more I didn't even know. Yeah, I've been interviewed on podcasts by women and well, couples even who are into the lifestyle, who are very, very diverse in their sexual appetite. Like very diverse. I was actually intimidated to be on their podcast. And but what I would do was I would give them access to one of my little courses and go, "Okay, I would love to hear your feedback. It would give us something to talk about." And every time they'd come back and go, "Oh my God, I thought I was really good and very knowledgeable. This is stuff I talk about like every day." And I realized how much I did not know what to do with my hands. So yeah, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Yeah, and I think it, and for me at this point, I feel like I just love those moments to learn something new because it doesn't happen as much as I wish it did, or
Right.
experiences that I haven't had yet. Sometimes clients will try to figure out like find something that I've never done before and then make it part of our time together. And I'm just like, okay, Lee, sign me up. I'm ready
Right.
to see what 69th technique I don't know yet.
It's really it's it it's really kind of hard to process because we think of up and down. And when I say erotic massage, women automatically think, "Oh, so I'm whacking my guy off." And no, no, I don't even teach this. Like you'll never see that in any of my training. Because it's supposed to feel like a massage. Like
Well, it's
it's
a
supposed
full
to be,
body experience, right? I
yes,
mean, it's
it's
kind of like if
slow.
a guy comes into sex with me and just goes for my genitals,
No.
right? Like it's a full. I want my skin. It's a big organ, right?
Yes. And guys will say, "No, I do want you to go straight there." but that's only because they haven't experienced the alternative. Like when you do incorporate the rest of his body and slow things right down and not be, like a rocket towards that finish line of an orgasm, then, oh my gosh, things get really juicy. And that orgasm ends up being way more intense and longer and just much more pleasurable when you do slow things right down and just kind of meander a bit, work your way towards that bullseye.
Yeah.
But you got to train guys to,
Mhm.
to be open to that. Like, trust me, good stuff is coming. Just wait
And
for it.
they can translate that back to your body because we also need things slowed way down.
Yes.
Right. So we aren't that different. That's the thing that, like, if you look at like how our genitals come, like, evolve through the growth process from embryos through, right? We are working with the same stuff, just in a different order, right? It's all
Yes.
the same stuff that has made little tweaks and changes based on our gender, but like, please. Like, I do
Right?
that with my partner. I go, okay, I'm going to touch your penis the way that I want you to touch my vulva. And I slow it way down. And he's like, holy shit. Right. Like, it is
Yes.
different. It is different to slow things down.
It really is. And that's why, like, a lot of women say, "Okay, so do you have something you can teach guys? Because they're the ones who need to know how to, do us right." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. You can teach your guy. Because I can teach your guy something, but it may not be relevant to your body and how you want it." So when you start teaching, or when you start touching your guy in these particular ways and asking these particular questions and opening up communication in the bedroom, you're kind of training him on how to do it for you.
Mhm.
So it's like this personalized instruction that the guys get. When the women know how to touch a man, they can teach the guy how to touch them.
Mhm.
Super
Yeah.
important. And then it
I
just opens
happen
up communication.
I happen to teach the masturbation side for women on occasion. I do a workshop here in San Diego once in a while, kind of Betty Dodson like body sex workshop. And it is one of those, like, you got to learn how to touch yourself so you can express that to your partner. But in this case, it's also really useful to have them experience the touch so that you can say, see how that feels? Now I want you to treat me like that.
Yes.
So put
Yes.
the two together and you'll have all the wisdom in the world.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of women don't know how to touch themselves. They don't even know what to ask for, let alone demonstrate it for a guy. So thank you for your service.
You're very welcome. Well, I come from a background where I also wouldn't think of myself teaching this stuff right now at this age. And like 10 years ago, I would never have imagined that I would be on this end of it, because I hated sex. It was very coercive sex that I was having in my previous marriage, which really kills your sex drive, people. For anybody listening to this, if you're having sex that you're not a hell yes to, or your partner is having sex with you and you can tell they're not a hell yes, you're not going to make it better by pursuing it despite
Right.
that, right?
You'll just push them
Nothing,
further away.
yeah, nothing disconnects them from their body more than the not wanting to do it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
really, like, anyways, there's a whole nother, go to my other
That's
podcast,
the whole thing right
my
there.
the Intimacy Lab podcast. Will be covering this in depth real soon.
Awesome.
But like, to be able to communicate, like you say, you're teaching communication. I hate to oversimplify life, but pretty much most things can be handled through communication as
Yes.
the first answer to every question, whether it's relationship problems, sex problems, problems with your kids. It all comes back to, how are you communicating and
Absolutely.
solving your childhood wounds. That's the other thing, is like, solve your childhood wound stuff and
Right.
learn how to communicate, and we can
Yeah.
solve a lot of problems.
The thing is, a lot of people say, like I hear all the time, yeah, well, I do communicate with my guy. He just doesn't listen. Well, there's communication, and then there's really effective communication. And a lot of us did not grow up with role models on what effective communication is.
Mhm.
So, so it's a whole skill It's a whole skill. You would think, okay, we all eat, so therefore we must all know how to be really good cooks. No, we're not. It's something you got to go to school for. You got to take a little training for to learn that skill set. Communication is no different. Everyone's
Mhm.
talking, not a lot of people are listening, and a lot of people are talking in a way that makes their partner defensive, so they can't hear you and they're just defending themselves. And so that is not really great communication. And we need more of that for sure,
Yeah.
especially in the bedroom, because there's a lot of communication going on up here. We're thinking all the things like, oh God, I told him last week I didn't like that. Oh, why does he keep doing all that's going on inside? But we don't know, we don't have the words to say it out loud so that we don't hurt our partner's feelings or we don't start a fight or whatever. So
Yeah.
you got to find ways to get it out in a way that makes your partner go, "Oh, awesome. Okay, thank you for saying that. I get it now."
Yeah.
Otherwise it's not going to work.
I
So,
also I had the thought of like in present, like what is happening in the present moment. I had this flashback while you were talking of my previous marriage where if something worked one time, it was the go-to thing every time because I get it. Vulvas are complicated. Penises, I'm learning, are much more complicated than I ever realized until I got into my work, right? Um, and it's like, what could we just ask what would feel good right now? Not
right.
what felt good yesterday or what you think might feel good. Like maybe you think it's going to feel good and you could change your mind and say, actually, I thought that was going to work. That's really not what I want right now. Um, that's
Yes.
communicating and like not just being mind readers and punching in the recipe. Like I had a friend that used to go say a story, something like her partner at the time would be like, okay, he rubs my boobs like for 2 seconds, and then he goes to my crotch, and then like he does the obligatory couple of licks of oral sex, and then he can stick it in, kind of thing. And I'm just like,
Hey,
that sounds like a great time.
right? Oh my gosh. Those are most of my clients. It's people mostly come to me because it's boring after all these years doing the same thing. Yeah, grabbing the left boob, like it's choreographed.
Yeah, and it really could.
So fun.
It really needs to start with like what would feel good right now, and it might not even be that it's a sexual answer, but
Right.
maybe I
Like
need
what?
something else first.
Yeah, why don't we focus on pleasure? Let's focus on pleasure, not orgasm.
Hmm.
Because if you are in the depths of pleasure, you probably have orgasm, but you can be aiming for the orgasm and kind of miss all the pleasure along the way. Sounds kind of dumb, but that's, I mean, we're so focused on the end result of an orgasm. And that's why so many people are let down by, that was like a failed sex session if we couldn't reach an orgasm. And a lot of guys, um, with the soft penis are not reaching orgasm because women don't know what to do with it,
Well, they don't either. Here's the thing.
and they
This is
don't
what I
either.
learned. This is what I learned last year in Soft Cock Week. Well, I've learned a few things. One is that there is a big grieving process that has to happen. I don't want to negate that in any of this
Mhm.
conversation. The grief of having erectile changes, and from whatever reason, whether it's age, cancer, stress, whatever is coming into play, right?
Yeah.
I get the grief part. The other thing that I learned was that a lot of penis owners don't understand that they can still masturbate and still have orgasms, even without erections. And so, like, we have it from your mouth that soft penises can have orgasms.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
Mhm.
And I think what goes on in the mind of a man who's masturbating is they're trying to get it hard. Like that's the effort. This is why I'm doing this, to try to get it hard, and I can't get it up, and so it's failed. Whereas if they let that go, no, you don't need to have an erect penis in order to have an orgasm. Or let's just back up. In order for it to just feel good,
Mhm.
like a soft penis still has all the nerve endings alive. And the nerve endings do not go away when you're soft. They're still there. So, I mean, yes, there's greater sensation sometimes when it's erect, but there's so much sensation to be had, and very pleasurable sensation even with a soft penis. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's just let that go. Like the
I think
whole
it's a mental block sometimes. Like,
totally.
I
Yeah.
really think, I think it's like, I'm probably going to totally screw this story up, but I had a colleague of mine try to explain to me, like, usually the erection is the thing that happens that make them go, okay, it's time to have sex, right? I need to pursue orgasm or whatever it is, right? It's the erection shows up, and then and then everything happens after that. So with the erection not showing up, it kind of messes up the whole system, the whole like usual path, right? And so
Right.
I
The
also
domino is
heard,
missing.
yeah, I also heard that on a podcast I listened to, Barry McCarthy, who writes really great books about ED and premature ejaculation, both those things. He mentioned that in a lot of heterosexual relationships, that the man stops initiating sex, his erection not being a given, like it's not predictive anymore, right?
Oh yeah,
And
he
they're
doesn't
so
want to go
afraid,
down that road if he just
so
knows.
afraid it's not going to show up, right? That they
Yeah.
don't even pursue it anymore. And so this idea that we need to start really educating both, like everybody involved, that everyone can experience responsive desire, right? It might just be that they have to like learn what turns them on and what turns them off, and go with the flow. Like I have to ask my partner, well, expectations for sex, huge like desire killer for me. So
Mm.
we go into space of wanting to connect with no expectation that it means that it has to be a sexual connection. And 99% of the time it goes to sex, right? My brain cannot handle the expectation, probably because of my previous marriage, right? The expectation just, I say, total boner killer. And so we go in with no expectation, and we cuddle and we talk, and like little hand, gestures down the arm, real light starts to turn on the skin, and then it turns on the brain. And, these things happen. And this is, big work in Emily Nagoski's Come As You Are, which should be like a Bible next to the bed of everyone's, bedside table. Men need to learn that that's not just a female thing. Like they
Right.
also can experience responsive desire. And I'm just putting myself in the shoes of the men that are getting the erotic massages from the women that you are teaching, and thinking they very well could be having the same experience of laying down, oh, I'm going to have this massage. Okay. And then like things come online that maybe weren't expected.
Oh yeah. There are many, I've lost track of how many cases that I've heard from my female clients when she says, okay, so my guy hasn't been able to get it up in 8 months or whatever. Like it's not happening no matter what we do. Even the medication, all that it's not really working. And then she just slows things down. And I teach women, you were not going for, if the orgasm happens, great, but that is not the purpose of what you're going to be doing on your guy. And you tell him that up front. This is just a practice session. I learned a few techniques from Lee Jagger, and I'm just going to give him a go. This is just practice. And I tell her to tell him that it's just practice. That way, no expectation, right? And then she's going along super slow, and she's just, trying to figure things out, but her hands are on his penis. So everything is really good in his brain, and he's just being loved on and cared for and cherished in this unique way that he just kind of relaxes, and then bam, and he's hard as a rock. And in a lot of cases after that, he doesn't have as long as they keep practicing the erotic massage and, letting go of the expectations and all that, he doesn't have an ED issue anymore. That has
Yeah.
happened so often, I can't even tell you, especially if it's a psychological thing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if there was surgery down there and nerves are cut, and sometimes you can't get that erection back ever.
Mm-hmm.
But in a lot of cases, it can come back, even when
Yeah.
it's been written off, even by the medical, like the doctors said, yeah, no, just, it's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's come back.
Yeah. And
So,
if it doesn't, it's okay.
and if
Like
it
it's
doesn't, it's
like,
okay. That's the greatest part. It's just like, start with that. It's, if it doesn't, I, I had this one guy in my office. He said, yeah, I used to think that intercourse was the pinnacle. Like that's where all roads lead to. For a man, that's just, woo, yeah, all roads lead to intercourse because that's what felt the best to him. But then he said, but I gotta say, her hands can do more things than her vagina can. like we've got a lot of dexterity here. A vagina can't do too many things, you know? So
Yeah.
And that leads me to think like most people are looking for ways to have better sex. But really at the heart of all of that, what we're really looking for is intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter what type of sex you're having, you know, if it's kinky, if it's oral, if it's hands-on, what it doesn't matter what it is, as long as there's intimacy at the heart of all of that, you're golden. It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
And we can have cravings, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's expand our sexual repertoire. Like, let's say I had a partner that had permanent erectile issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really needed penetration. There's hands, there's toys, right? It doesn't have to come from a biocock. You know, if it's not available, it's not available, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, you can dial in whatever one you want when you're shopping off the shelf, right? You could be like, I'm in the mood for this one today. And as someone who loves playing with dildos with partners as my partners as the receiver, like it's just as fun to fuck them with that as I imagine it would be with a penis if we get our ego out of it and
Yeah.
what it means, right? What does it mean to not have that attached to you? Like
Right.
that's some work to be done, but you have to, like, I think it's possible to pull those apart if we want to. And if you're seeing your partner in being with them in great sex, I think it really helps start to pull that apart of like what is really needed to have great sex. And
Yeah.
it definitely is not a penis. We can see that in the orgasm gap, right? If that's how we're judging good sex, the penis is not the part that's important. It's
No.
two people.
And most people or most women cannot, the majority of women cannot have an orgasm through penetration alone anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So we need that external stimulation. We're not even talking about like internal G spot, external stimulation. And you don't need a penis for that.
No.
So yeah, yeah. And I also, something you said earlier made me think, I have this, I love quoting Mother Teresa, which is shocking for people when we're talking about sex. But I like this one quote Mother Teresa said makes me think, oh yeah, she's teaching us how to be a compassionate lover when she says this. So she said, the most terrible poverty, I mean, she worked with people in poverty, right? The most terrible poverty is loneliness and the feeling of being unwanted. And I will say that when there's a soft penis situation and either party doesn't really know how to proceed, how to have great sex without using insertion as the prerequisite, then that man feels unwanted. Like when you reject his penis, like a woman who doesn't know any better and she's like kind of avoiding that private area, he's taking that as a personal rejection, not just a penis rejection. Like, and she may be just thinking, I just don't know what to do with it, so I'm not going to go there. And while yes, there's lots that you can do without using a penis to stimulate each other, it's still important to touch the penis, even if it's soft, because that makes him feel so loved on and so wanted as a man. I mean, that's why they call it their manhood. Men identify so heavily with their genitals. So
Mm-hmm.
ladies, you gotta touch it, whether it's soft
Yeah.
or not. You really, really do. And to let him know that, like, I don't care if you're hard or not. I still love this part of you because I
Mm-hmm.
love all of you. And I
Even
just
if
want
it's
to love on you.
even if it's not sexual touch,
Yes, right.
right? Like just gonna brag on myself a bit
No.
in my work. Part of what I get for feedback is people that do have erectile issues is my just enthusiastic excitement to touch a soft penis. I think they're so fun, and it's not about getting them hard or getting them to orgasm or anything. I just want to play
Mhm.
with it. It's
Right.
just they're just I just think like there's so many times where I just like touch their soft penis and touch their heart at the same time and let them know like how much I love them and care for them and that this whole thing is good. Like
Yeah.
it's just I love that. That's my like one of my favorite moments in work when I'm working with someone that does have erectile issues is like, oh my gosh, let me show you appreciation and love for you however you show up. And
Mm.
I think this is where our sex education is really lacking because I don't think women understand that a man's erection has nothing to do with you. It's not a sign that you're not attractive to them. It's we didn't I was never taught these things, and I remember getting back out into the dating world and having to kind of remind myself this isn't about me, right, Michelle? And I'm a sex geek. Like
Right.
I know all the things, and I still have to do that kind of like, okay, Michelle, it's not about you. Or even in my work now when they're struggling that their erection isn't showing up, and I'm like, this is nerves, this is a lot of things, but it is not about how they feel about me as a person or about my attractiveness or
Yeah.
even our connection, right? It's nothing to do with that.
Mm.
It's a completely separate thing. It doesn't have to do with you. So I'm assuming we're going to get a lot of women listening to this episode specifically, and I want them to know the erection
Mhm.
is not about you. You can still have a really fulfilling sex life if your partner has even whether it's like occasional issues with ED or it's a perpetual issue with ED, you can still have great connection and great sexual connection.
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
And
And
I'm
it's
like
real.
thinking, I'm like, is there anything else I need them to know? Like, but
Well,
please go.
here, yeah, I would 100% on everything you just said, and I would add that yes, it's important for women to know that this isn't about them. The soft penis situation is not a reflection on how much they love you or are attracted to you. Yes, 100%. And we need to let guys know that we know that it's not about us, because the guy
Mhm.
in his head, he's like, oh my god, she's gonna think that I don't like her or I'm not turned on by her, and this is going on in the guy's head. So there are ways to broach that subject to let him know that, hey, you're off the hook. You're off the hook. You're not going to offend me. I got you. In fact, I'm going to own your penis in a second. And God, I hope you don't even get an erection, because there's so many things that I can do with it when it's soft and feels awesome, you know? So you got to let guys know that you know that.
Yeah, you got to speak it out your mouth, right?
Out of your mouth. Yeah, you
We
can't
are
yeah,
neither
no
one of us are mind
negotiation
readers.
here.
Yeah.
Say it, because they're going to be thinking it.
Mhm.
And then they're in their head, and then they're not really enjoying themselves, and they're feeling less than and incompetent and all the things. So, yeah,
Yeah.
ladies, love on your guy verbally too.
It's a gift to take them off the hook, really is a gift to them because how do you like if you're showing up in sexual situations with expectations of how you're supposed to perform and how everything's supposed to go, how do you enjoy it? How do you just roll with it? If
Yeah.
like it feels like I always say like laughter should be part of your sex, right? You should be if you're
Yes.
not laughing as part of your sex, you're trying way too hard. Like
Yeah. I think when the more skills that we have, both men and women, then the more our confidence goes up, because our competence is up. You know, when if you have low competence in the bedroom, let's just say, then your confidence can't be really high, because you don't know many things, right? So your confidence automatically goes down. So you up the competence, then that increases your confidence. And when you have increased confidence, you can relax, like you can just be free. And when you can relax and be free, and just then you can be playful, and then you can laugh. But there's
Mhm.
no laughing in the bedroom when you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. Just stick it in. Oh, he can't stick it in. Oh shit, what do we do now? So there's no laughing going on in that situation. So you got to up your competence.
You got to
Learn a
take
few things.
chances, right? You got to be able to experiment. And I'm going to give a freebie here. I don't know if it's in your class. So pardon me if I give away a secret. If you're not confident in what you're doing, put a blindfold on them.
I do
Put a
teach women that.
blindfold on them and have notes next to you if you need
Yes.
to. This is a sex worker like tip I got years ago. So a friend of mine that was in sex work and was new and was like, okay, I have to do this BDSM scene and I'm just kind of new to this world and like I need notes. So they slap a blindfold on the guy and then you can have your notes out. My partner does it with like rope and shibari stuff. Sometimes he doesn't know all the ties to a certain tie and he'll have his little notes next to him. You just slap a blindfold on him.
Absolutely. And then also, like when I'm teaching women how to do stuff, especially the first time, the very first time they're trying really basic stuff out, they're still nervous. And so I say, yeah, put that cloth over their eyes. That way you can have a little cheat sheet off to the side. You can play me on your phone off to the side. You can just follow along. And the bonus thing is that he's not looking up at you. So you don't feel like the spotlight is on you when you're trying something out and you're really nervous and you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. It helps that he's not looking at you going, what are you doing?
I'm just thinking of like, I don't know what my face looks like when I'm concentrating, but I know what other people's faces look like sometimes
Yeah,
when you're
it's not
concentrating.
sexy.
It's not sexy.
No, no, it looks like you're mad because your brow's a little bit furrowed. You're kind of frowning just a little bit. Yeah, people don't look good when they're concentrating.
My grandma used to stick her tongue out when she would concentrate. And I'm just thinking like, oh my gosh, not that I want to think about my grandma in an erotic massage situation. But like I can see her in my head. I'm also thinking the blindfold really ups other sensations, right? When we take away one of our senses, the others jack up. So like blindfolds,
Oh, so good.
super useful.
And also it gets the guy into his body a little bit more and not so much looking at you in your sexy lingerie and then he's thinking about, oh, but how do I touch her? How do I reciprocate for her? How do I want to do this to her? No, 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 no. In fact, I encourage women, especially the first little bit, like either figuratively or literally tie your guy's wrists. Like tell him, no, you're not allowed to touch me. You don't need to look at me because you're not going to be aiming your hands in any certain direction. Like just receive, just
Mm-hmm.
receive. And
Which that's a test. I mean, that's for a lot of men, it's hard to receive.
really hard. Yeah.
So
Cause
they have
then
to
you
learn a new
think,
skill set too.
oh, it's a total skill set to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. And a lot of people think, oh, but that'll make me feel like I'm selfish
Mm-hmm.
or that I need to reciprocate. And so I often tell women to, make sure your guy knows that you're getting a lot out of just having the skills to do this. You're taken care of. You're feeling awesome. You're feeling like Beyonce on stage and just rocking it out. So you got to let guys know that they don't have to reciprocate. They can just receive right now.
I
They
think
can
it's a
reciprocate
gift.
later if they want.
It's
If they
such a gift to say to your partner, I want to do this thing for you. And I want you to have the ability to just soak it up and not think about giving it back to me. And so a lot of times I'll tell clients, like, maybe consider tonight is just about you, right? And then maybe tomorrow night we can flip it around, right? But to just lay there, I happen to be a big fan of prostate massages. That's kind of my jam in the world. And so like to say to my partner, I'm going to give you a prostate massage and I don't want you to move afterwards, right? You just get to sit in that, all the aftershocks, right? All of the just letting all that energy kind of dissipate in your body without this like urge to like, okay, now I got to flip around and go do the thing to my partner, which
right.
just kind of, you don't get all the savoriness at the end. And I
Yeah.
don't need anything right then and there. And if I did, I could take care of myself. Right.
Right.
But to just say, I want to do this thing for you
Mm.
and have that be it.
Oh, that is
Because I'd
so
love to
good.
receive on the other side of that too, right? Like
Oh
I want to
yeah.
have a night that's all about me.
I love I love those nights. Yeah. And it kind of, it lets each other off the hook. Like, yeah, I would like a night where it's all about me. And when I'm on cloud nine, I don't want to have to, you know, flip the tables around and then go to town on you. No, no. Sometimes I just want to lay there and please cuddle me now. That's what I'm in the mood for. So yeah, it lets each other off the hook to reciprocate in the moment.
Yeah. And setting that container before you start so
Oh,
that they know what to expect at the end, right? Like it's like setting the scene. What does it look like? I want to do this thing. I expect that this is not for orgasm purposes. I don't care if you get hard. It's not necessary. I just want to play with your cock. And that's it. I don't even want anything in return. I just want to focus on you. And
yeah.
just set that right from the beginning so that they aren't in their head thinking about what they're going to do back, or like just knowing this is it. This is the container.
Yes. And the container is so important. And the reason why it's important is because you would think that a container, like boundaries, are confining, but they're actually not. They're really liberating. I don't know if you heard about this study they did years ago where they took a preschool teacher and her preschool kids and took them to a playground and said, okay, the jungle gym is there, the slides, the swings, like all the things are in the playground. And they said, okay, go play. And the teacher just let them play. And they found that the kids actually stayed fairly close to the teacher. They just were reserved in their play. And then they take the same kids, the same teacher, to a different playground. This playground has a very well-defined fence around it. And these kids, like, it was noticeable how different they played. They were much more rambunctious. They explored every square foot of the playground because they knew where out of bounds was. They knew where the line was, where if you cross that, okay, no good. So the same is true in the bedroom. Like if you have clearly defined boundaries, container, fence, then you know how much, like, you can play 100% out and know that you're not going to cross a line with your partner. You're never wondering, is this okay? You don't have to wonder. It's already been established. It's so much more freeing.
It's one of my favorite stories. That story was, I first heard that story when I was doing cuddlist training to be a professional cuddler, because a lot of what we do in that space is hold boundaries, right? And the founder of the business used to say, like, they pay us for our boundaries. Like that's what we're being paid for. And it's so true. That, and like, I think knowing where the boundaries are is great, but also knowing that you have a partner who will advocate for themselves, right? That we can trust that they have a no, so that when they say yes, that we know that they're a yes.
Right.
That's like really, it's that fence too, in that I can trust that you're going to take care of yourself and let me know if I am running up to that fence line, or the fence line has changed for whatever reason, right? We get to change our mind. Consent is ever going. It's not just I've said it and now I'm committed to it.
Yeah.
That's real trust and intimacy, when you have the ability to hear everything that needs to be said in the space.
Yes.
Including people's no. Like that's how I can show up to sex with my partner so well, is that he celebrates my no as much as my yes. And so I can take risks, right? I can ask for crazy things and know that he'll tell me no if he's not into it. I don't have to worry that he's doing something he doesn't want to do, and he feels the same way about me. And so having a good fence line in your playground, it's going to make fun
a while to get there,
way more
too.
fun.
Like it's hard for people who aren't really familiar with that concept to dive into it. It's a tiptoe kind of thing to get your feet wet, for sure. But one thing I will say is the easier you make it for your partner to say no, like you're not going to judge them. There's no repercussions. You're not going to get mad at them for saying no. That like it's safe for them to say no and honor their own no. Then the more likely they are to say yes. So it's just really important to make it okay to change your mind, to say no, to understand that if it's not a hell yes, it is a no. Or
Mhm.
maybe it's a yes later, but it's not a yes right now.
Mhm.
So yeah, just honor your partner's no, and practice outside the bedroom.
Mhm.
Like, hey honey, I know we were going to go out for dinner tonight, but I'm just not into it. I don't know. I had a bad day and I just feel like being at home. Making it okay for someone to say that and go, thanks for taking care of yourself. Okay, let's do something else.
I was going to
Oh my
say,
gosh.
thank you for taking care of yourself has brought friends of mine to tears when they've had to cancel something. And I've said, thank you for taking care of themselves. They have literally cried because nobody has ever just given them the it's okay to take care of yourself response.
Yeah, that's huge. Because otherwise people will feel like, okay, I got to make up an excuse or make up a lie just to make it okay for that person that I'm saying no. When you get rid of all that fluff and you just make it okay, oh my gosh, that's
And
such a
that's
gift.
and it's building connection, and then we can bring it all back to the sex. Right? The
Oh yeah.
sex is just better with good communication.
Good
Communication that is
communication.
heard and safe
Mhm.
and everything's welcome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And yummy skills
Lee,
with your hands too. That helps.
I think I have a new BFF. We should get coffee soon. But
Hey,
anyways,
we're both, I mean, I'm in Encinitas, so that's not very far from you. So we're
no,
definitely doing that.
we are doing that. Thank you so much for being here. Is there okay, how can we find you? What are you like what do we need to do next, Lee?
Well, if people want to jump in my world, you can find me everywhere on social media, like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. With my handle is Rock the Bedroom. And if you go to rockthebedroom.com, there's a free technique that people can get just to dip their toes in my world and see if that's something that
Try it out.
yeah, try it out. And I almost guarantee that just with the one teeny tiny free no brainer technique, you look at it and you go, that's not going to do anything. One, yeah, it'll drive him wild. Two, your confidence totally goes up. Like you can notice your confidence, like, oh my gosh, this is so simple to do, but look at the response I got from my partner. So when you see that, your confidence goes up. And so that you go to rockthebedroom.com and dip your toes in. It's so juicy.
I'm going to go do that after we sign off today. I'm going to go totally get the free technique and give it a try cuz I just want to know if I know it or not.
Yeah, everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. It's not going to be a surprise. That's why I say you're
Okay.
going to look at it and go, really? That's it? But do it. And do it
Okay.
as slow as you pot, like slower than molasses in January. Just so slow.
Oh my gosh, if you slow any touch down,
Yes.
it changes how it feels. Like it suddenly becomes incredibly erotic no matter what it is,
Yeah.
just because you slowed it down.
Yeah.
Just because you slowed it down.
Yeah, you can take anything. If I were to give your listeners, like if they never enter my world, that's fine. But the one piece of advice I would give anyone listening to this, man or woman, is no matter what you're doing, how you're touching your partner or kissing them or anything, slow it down. Just like a kiss, a peck on the cheek. No, 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 no. Even if it's on their cheek, I want you to slow that down. Like make it a 7-second kiss.
Well, as Betty Martin would say, slow it down and then slow it down again because it's still not slow enough.
Yeah.
Right? Cut it in half again.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
you think you're going slow enough, slow it down more
Uh-huh.
for sure.
Yeah.
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 Because it feels so, so good. And it lets your partner know it's not just a mindless thing you're doing. You're basking in it, which
And
means you're basking in them.
if you want to be a quality lover, like I have this lover. I'm in a I'm in an open relationship. My partner completely knows about this. I have this lover and he is so just slow. Like everything is just it's like the difference between I have a younger husband and I have this older lover. And when I found out that he was 50, I go, oh my God, this all makes sense now. He goes, what do you mean? I go, you're so slow and like just taking it all in, and like it's like there's no rush. It could take all night and he would be thrilled with it. That is worthy of, I pass this man around. Like, he is living his best life right now. I have him on rotation with a bunch of ladies here, and he will be delighted to hear this on this video, because he gets such a kick out of it. But it's like, it's just being slow and taking your time, and it is
Yeah. Yeah. Give that gift to your partner. You'll see come back to you 10 times
Yeah.
when you really slow everything down. Yeah. So good.
Anyways, okay, Lee, it was a pleasure.
Oh,
I
it
can't
was
wait.
so lovely.
I'm so glad that our mutual friend brought you into my life, and we will talk again soon. I'm gonna sign
Absolutely.
off.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been really juicy.
Yay! Wow, do I enjoy talking about soft cock. Thank you for listening. If you didn't catch the video version, I invite you to find us on YouTube or Spotify with video. If you found this podcast to be helpful and you feel you can give us 5 stars, I invite you to rate and review us on your favorite podcast app. New episodes of the Soft Cock Week podcast only drop during the week of Soft Cock Week, so please make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of them. Lastly, give us a follow on social media and check out our resources, Soft Cock love notes, and events at softcockweek.com. Signing off from Southern California with so much love. Mwah.